Chapter 27. We scampered off the ketch and back into the rowboat. I looked about, trying to decide where among all those ships to go next. Once again the sheer number of them and their size fed my anguish, while the increasing dusk only added to my misery. It would be dark soon. "I'm betting on that one," said Thad, pointing to the nearest ship. She was a two-masted brig. Tattered gray sails sagged from her foremast, suggesting nothing so much as exhaustion. I began to row. Once close, I backed against the brig, stern first. The ship made our rowboat feel tiny. "Can we get on?" I asked, looking up. The top rail was quite some ways above us. "I'm able," said Thad. "She's not that high. Just have to gaffle these ratlines." He grabbed the dangling web of ropes, they were like loose ladders, and began to climb. In moments he disappeared over the topgallant rail, gone briefly before his head popped up. "Not hard," he called. I tied our rowboat to the brig, and then followed him up to the deck. It worked my muscles, but I succeeded. Like the ketch, the brig's main deck was in complete disorder. She was not just derelict, but looked as if she had just been ransacked. For a moment my spirits lifted. If other people had been on her recently, maybe they had brought Jacob here and left him. It was easy enough to see he was not on deck. We searched the deck structures too, a few small cabins which for the most part had been ripped open, some of the wood removed, I supposed for building in town. It didn't matter what these cabins had been used for, Jacob was not in them. We came to the companionway steps that led to the ship's lower decks. I lay on my stomach and stared into the blackness below. Cupping my mouth, I shouted, "Jacob! Jacob! Are you there? It's me, Tori." No answer. I went down, every step bringing me deeper into darkness. "Jacob!" I descended farther, only to hold back. It wasn't just murky, the smell was foul. "Don't get lost there," Thad called. I went on. The darkness grew deeper, the stink worse. I began to hear faint rustlings, plus some high-pitched squeaks. Something ran over my foot. "Oh!" I cried, and leaped up a step, my body shuddering. "What?" Thad called. "Rats, I think." "Maybe you don't want to go any more." "Jacob!" I yelled as loud as I could. "Are you here?" Other than a faint echo, there was no response. I retreated to the main deck and took a deep breath. Twilight had come. The city hills were glittery with points of candle, lantern, and cooking fires, as if stars had fallen and become stuck in its mud. Thad said, "Should have brought a lantern." I stood in place, full of ache, breathing hard with distress. I didn't know what to do. "We'll come back tomorrow," said Thad. Not answering, I went to the rail and stared out over Rotten Row. The multitude of ships, massive, mute, and dark, seemed positively evil to me. I had no voice to speak. I wanted to cry. I didn't. Thad came up to my side. "He's here somewhere. We'll find him." "Hope," I managed to say, then added, "Thank you for helping." "Yeah," he said, "best friends." Then he said, "Better get back to the beach." "Thad," I said, "my father is due from the diggings." "When?" "In a few days." "Yeah," he said again. I wondered how many meanings the one word or sound had. What am I going to say to him? Just, "Jacob's gone? It's my fault. Sorry?" Thad shook his head. "According to Sam, you didn't lose him. Someone took him." "It's horrible." "What difference does it make? He's gone." Fumbling, working hard not to slip and fall amidst all the deck clutter, we got off the ship and into the rowboat. This time Thad took the oars. I sat in the stern, hugging myself against the chill, tense with frustration. Without talking, Thad kept looking over his shoulder as he rowed. As we drew in, I could see someone on the shore, as if waiting for us. It was Sam. He was standing there, bugle under his arm. "I was going over to the Mercury," he called as we drew in, "when I saw people out in Rotten Row. I was wondering if it was you. This your brother?" He meant Thad. I shook my head. "My friend Thaddeus." I turned to Thad. "This is Samuel, Sam. He's the one who told me about crimping." Thad made a friendly nod, but in his way didn't say anything. Were you searching? Sam asked me. A couple of the boats, but it got too dark. You need light. As Thad and I pulled the rowboat up onto the beach, Sam stood there as if not sure what to do. For a moment Thad hung back, then he went up to Sam, hand out. Thanks for telling Tori about crimping, he said, then added, I'm Thad. Sam shifted his bugle under his arm, shook Thad's hand, and nodded. It's not good. Thad said, Really think Jacob got kidnapped? Sam looked at me. You were in my tent. You notice how many beds there were? 3. One belongs to that brother I told you about. Thad said, What happened to him? One night he vanished. From the Mercury, just like her brother. Whoa, said Thad. Don't know for certain, but we're pretty sure. Disappeared in September. Crimped. Not a trace. I stared at him. No idea where? Sam shook his head. Thad said, Did you tell the police? They're not about to help colored folk. That's awful, I said, even as I recognized the weakness of my words. Sam said, That's why I told you about Castle. Don't want it to happen to your brother, or anyone. Jacob's a kid, said Thad. He turned to me. How old? 10. Can't see what use he'd be. Shit, boy, said Sam. Some people, let me tell you, they like to be waited on. Can make a man feel important. I heard his deep anger. Not knowing what to say, I turned my back on the boys and stared out at the rotten roast ships. Faint as they were, I couldn't take my eyes from them. As I thought, Jacob is there somewhere. I hated them. You going to search some more? Asked Sam. Thad said, Too dark. Sam said, I might be able to get a lantern at the Mercury. Take a few minutes. I turned about. Thank you, I said, grateful. But going on those ships at night, said Sam, it'll be dangerous. Then he lifted his bugle. I've got to work. I'll walk with you, Thad said to Sam. One thing, said Sam. I don't want Castle seeing me with you at the Mercury. He turned to Thad. She, he meant me. Explain who that is? Thad nodded. I felt a stab of guilt. Let's go then, said Sam. Sam, I called out, I made a bad mistake. What? I went to the police, Chief Fallon. I thought he might help me find Jacob. I told him he might have been crimped. When he asked me how I knew that, I was so upset that I let it slip that it was you who told me. The light might have been dim, but I could see Sam's face fill with anger. You told him about me? I nodded. Sam spun away. Mortified, I called, I'm sorry, it was wrong of me. I hope nothing bad comes of it. Me too, I heard Sam say. He was still not looking at me. To Thad he said, Come on, let's go. His voice had changed. It wasn't friendly. I felt awful. The two of them started to walk away. I wanted them to be friends. I could hear Thad say, That's ghastly about your brother. I'm from Maine. Bath, where are you from? I got back into the rowboat and sat on the center seat, staring bleakly out over the cove. I was angry at myself for betraying Sam, and wondered if he would talk to me again. What if my talking to the police made more trouble for him? I thought of Jacob as well. Was he in a cabin on one of those ships? In the hold? Was he tied up? Did he have anything to eat? Did he know I was looking for him? There I was, a 14-year-old, and for the first time in my life, I was not just upset but mortified, deeply disappointed, not liking myself. I like to think of myself as older, wiser. I was older, maybe, but obviously not wiser. Is distress the best teacher, or pain? I had both. I had the thought, does knowing you aren't wise make you wise? As I sat there trying to sort my emotions, I heard footsteps crunch on the beach behind me. Startled, I spun around.